Last time I introduced you to my R34 GTV, showed you some of the parts I will be installing, and somehow made my friend Adam appear. We removed the gearbox to then upgrade the clutch to an XZD heavy duty. And yes, I dropped a few things along the way. We compared the old stock turbo to the new high-flow 21U turbo, which we did install. And on this episode, we will be starting it off with upgrading the fuel pump. So, because we are going E85, we have primed all the 98 out of the car. Well, most of it. You can't get every single bit out. And yeah, see, this is another reason, well, this is a solid reason why you need a small person. Okay, I can fit straight in the boot. I have not seen any YouTuber with a Skyline fit in the back of the boot doing the fuel pump. What can I say? So, almost every Skyline, I think every Skyline, in the R34, the fuel pump is right here, just behind the back seats in the boot. It's got 4 bolts, you undo them, and you got a few plugs and things you got to undo, and then you got to undo this big guy, and you're into the fuel tank where the fuel pump is. And that's what we're going to do now. And it really helps if you're my height and you can sit right here and do it. If not, good luck to you. And yeah, so we're gonna do it. There was probably a few different ways you could have done that, but a hammer and a screwdriver, what could go wrong? So, anyone that's wanting to do a fuel pump in a 34, it is actually pretty easy. Like, I'm not the most mechanically minded person, but that took like 2 minutes to pull out. That was pretty dang easy. Obviously, you just got to watch yourself with what you're grabbing out and make sure nothing falls in your tank, or otherwise you're going to go swimming, which no one wants to do. Yeah, and obviously you really don't want a full tank of fuel when doing this, because otherwise you're going to have fuel just everywhere and it's not going to be fun. But obviously, because we've drained the fuel for E85, it was very easy, and I was able to put my hand in there and get the hook off. So this guy here is just hooked towards the front of the fuel tank, and yeah, just pull it out with your hands and voila, it's a pretty big sock on it. But now we're going to show you how to upgrade the factory fuel pump to a Walbro 460. These are the things you're going to do and need. So I am going straight E85, so all this has to be E85 and fuel resistant and compatible. So obviously you got your fuel pump, so Walbro 460 will be replacing this factory fuel pump. Also the sock that comes with, so the factory one's got this big ginormous thing on it, where this just comes with a little square bloke that will help us out. Wiring, I was silly and bought this and didn't know what I was doing, and it didn't have a plug on it. So I'm left with just open wires and that's it. So I ended up buying these guys, which apparently are fuel and E85 usable. So apparently they will be fine. So we will just wire a plug on and then plug on the other side of this factory positive and negative, and it should be straight fine there. Everything should be good there. But with the factory fuel lines, this guy here, the little guy, and we'll just found this guy here, which we weren't too sure about as we opened it, because it's a few other pumps that I've seen with mates and stuff, it didn't really look like that, but that may be because this used to be non-turbo. But we're going to replace it anyway. So we got some of this hose, racing performance hose, which is E85 compatible fuel line. So we'll just be replacing it with that and that. And yeah, so that is pretty straightforward on what we will be doing. And then I will discuss how people go on about, oh, you need the relay mod and you got to have a bunch of wires in the boot, and you don't need to do that. Okay, I don't understand why people keep saying you do. There's a lot of people that have gone away from that. So, but we'll put this all together and then we'll go from there.
As ethanol is very corrosive, especially to standard fuel system components, it is beneficial to change the whole fuel system with E85 compatible components. Because who wants their fuel system slowly eaten away? I sure don't. Depending on the vehicle, you may want to use the stock filter, as the Walbro filter may not touch the bottom of the fuel tank. Or you could consider using the Walbro extension kit, because you don't want to get to a quarter of a tank and all of a sudden have no fuel. Double checking the polarity using a multimeter, indicating a positive and a negative line, as both of our wires are black. Making sure that your positive and negative wires do not touch, especially in the tank, because that won't be fun. It can be difficult to hook the fuel pump back in, but once done, everything can go back together.
So to get the most amount of current to your fuel pump, now that we've upgraded, we need at least 14 volts, or what, 13, 14, the most you can get. So people going about, oh, you need to do the relay mod, you need to do this, you need to have wires all in your boot and stuff, but a lot of people have just done this. There's a plug here that goes to the fuel pump speed resistor, or some people call it the injector resistor. It's this little module that sits here. and this plug goes straight in there, which I've chopped off. It'll just sit right here, but because mine was factory NA, I never got that unless someone has taken it off. I don't know. Anyway, I've cut this plug off, and you got these two wires here, and we're going to literally put them together, and somehow it'll magically get some more power to your fuel pump. So we'll put these two together, and that's all you need to do, apparently.
After completing this witchcraft, it's time to move on to the injectors. Removing the top half of the intake manifold and any vacuum lines that might get in the way. In order to take the top half off, there are bolts also underneath the manifold that are hard to access.
So, I know I look like a bit of a scumbag, but it's really cold and it's pretty early in the morning. But talking more about fuel, so we got, with our injectors, we're still using this stock rail. Yes, I know, whoa, shit, oh my god, we're using the stock rail still, but we're going to be using some 1000cc injectors. And with these guys, to make them fit into the stock rail, you do have to change the O-rings, and you do need to change the adapters. You need these adapters to go into the stock harness, which will plug straight into, from the injector to the stock harness. And then you're going to need some of these little, there's a lot of sounds happening outside. You're going to need one of these little guys, which is a little cup that sits in the engine side of things, which the injector will sit into. And yeah, so that's all we're going to need. So we will be replacing the stock injectors with 1000cc Bosch injectors. Bit of an overkill, some people may think, but at least this setup will last for more power in future. So let's get to it. And one more thing, I thought we will be using the stock fuel pressure regulator, and I know people are going to be like, why would you do that? It's not going to pump enough fuel through. But for 400 horsepower, 350 horsepower, we're not aiming for like massive, like that should be sweet. I've seen mates keep that original and it's been fine. And if it was really a major issue while tuning or whatever, I'll just grab one and put it on. Easy. Let's get to it. Finish this fueling stuff off because I'm getting sick of it.
Using something as simple as Vaseline to lubricate the O-rings to make fitting a lot easier. And yes, I was wrong. The cup actually sits in the rail side, not the engine side. Because these injectors are longer than the factory ones, it created some space between the rail and the engine side, which made it difficult, especially when tightening it down. So we improvised and made some spaces.
So this is the factory intercooler piping, or intercooler, not piping, and it's piping I suppose, but comparing it to the front one, the front mount that we will be going, there is a massive difference in sizing. So compare this one, it's like almost my hand width apart, to that one. Obviously you can see the big difference. There have been people actually push out big power with these, funny enough, but I don't want to do that.
So now we are trying to bolt on my intercooler piping kit, which is supposed to be direct bolt on. Well, judging by the photos that I got from the previous owner, it does.
So this one goes on the intake. This one might be better for the silver one. That goes straight up. What's that one?
But it didn't, so we improvised and got creative. Measuring and marking out where you're going to mount your intercooler, and then more creativity. The genuine GDR front bar attached to my R34 made fitting the intercooler and piping kit a lot more difficult to fit, clearly showing how different the standard GTT front bars are. And no, this cheap Chinese catch can that some mate bought off Wish will not be staying on my R34, but the fittings it came with were just too small. Also, the factory mass airflow sensor is no longer needed as the Haltech has an onboard map sensor. That's so cool, eh?
So, originally this Turbo Smart Boost T is what used to control my boost, because I wanted to get a bit more boost out of my stock turbo like anyone else does these days. But because we're upgrading the whole system and we got the Haltech and everything, I'll be upgrading to the Turbo Smart Boost Solenoid, which will electronic compared to the manual. So electronic, manual, I don't have to get out of the car and adjust anything. It'll just go straight to the Haltech and that'll control it all, and so I don't have to worry about anything. So yeah, chuck this in the bin and replace it with some upgraded parts. So, servicing wise, there are a few things that need upgrading. There's a few things that we'll just not worry about. Obviously, all the usual things, we'll be using some Castrol Edge, using just a normal Ryco oil filter. I bought the wrong coolant, but we're just gonna have to use this that mixing stuff instead of the normal crap, but that'll do. Obviously, the biggest change, because we will be going to E85, is the fuel filter and those lines there. So we will be using Raceworks, one of the AN10 billet fuel filter, micron 50mm, which is supposed to last forever because there is no paper in them. So see how that goes. To make this fit, we've got a few different AN fittings, which will go either side of the fuel filter, and then they'll go from that into the E85 lines. So should be sweet. Should all go straight into each other and all be very simple. If you don't have a knife, you're very dumb. Buy a knife if you don't have one, and it's very handy because yeah, that was supposed to be like a 5-minute job, and to you guys it seems like it's going to be 5 minutes, but for me, I've been here for a while trying to get these lines off, but they're off now. Oh my god. And yes, I'm standing on a box because I didn't put the car down, even though I don't need to go underneath it anymore, because I am silly. I'm gonna finish my Skyline now.
Again, changing more fuel components, ready for some E85.
So, we've officially gotten all the parts on, we're pretty sure. Everything seems to be all on where it's supposed to be. Catch cans on. That wasn't too hard to put on, just got to find the right place to put it. Again, well, everything on here looks pretty dodgy. I don't like the fact that this is blue, that's red, there's random blue parts. It's a bit all over the place, but it's the things that do look dodgy are the things that won't stay on forever. So I will be spraying them all up, probably black in the future once it's all tuned and stuff, but for now it'll do. So catch cans on, the boost solenoid valve is on, the pod filter's all on, all the intercooler piping is on, which was very annoying to fit. There was a few parts that didn't quite fit properly because also I have the GDR front bar, which did affect it. So, but with a bit of cutting, she was all sweet. Injectors are all in. We did have to replace a few lines here and there, but yeah, they all went straight in, which is great. We got all the E85 lines and the fuel filter in, and they just, yeah, that was really easy to put in. Again, it's just trying to get the parts all right length. But yeah, clutch is in, fuel pump is in, and those lines all done. And I think that's it. Everything is all done. But last bit is to put some fluid in her, put a base tune on from the Haltech so that we can actually start her, run the fluids through, and yeah, then that's it. Then we can take her to get a tune.
The turbo is in as well, if anyone was wondering. The Haltech Elite 2000 will be completely replacing the stock ECU, so that has to go. The Haltech is a standalone ECU that completely bolts in, unlike my intercooler. Unfortunately, as we were about to get the car started and everything loaded on, the tow truck arrived. Next time, we'll finally get the car tuned and see some great results, judging by my face. We also take the car for a quick drive and discuss the overall experience.